Hi, folks. If you're joining us, it's nice to see you. I know more people will filter in and some people will watch the replay, but welcome. My name is Claire Venus and I'm here with Penny Wincer. Hi, Penny.
Hello, it's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so nice to see you. And we've never done one of these. So we're excited because it's a lovely thing to do and the technology makes it so easy. So this is so nice. So for people that aren't subscribed to your Substack yet or don't know your work, would you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, I am an author and also a writing coach, and I have a podcast called Not Too Busy to Write, and my Substack is called the same. I am, let's see, what would I say my focus is? My books that I've published are nonfiction, and I coach nonfiction writers, and very specifically, I help writers put nonfiction book proposals together. But also, I am kind of moving beyond nonfiction now and expanding out into writing fiction. And, I'm interested in all kinds of writing. And so I have a writer's membership called The Fold, which is for writers of all kinds. And it's a very kind of light touch writer's membership, which is very much for writers who are working on long projects like a book, or perhaps working on something like a Substack, which they want to do over a really sustained period of time. And they just don't want to be alone while they do it. They want to be in a community, they want accountability, but they also want advice on the publishing world, but also help with the specific writing things as well. But it's also very light touch. It's not a course or a class. So that's basically what I do.
Love it. And how long have you had that membership, Penny? How long have you been running that?
It's almost a year. It'll be a year next month. And it's really funny because I put it off for a really, really long time because I didn't think I wanted a membership because a lot of memberships I take part in for a little bit of time, but I actually pull out pretty quickly because often what's going on in the memberships is too busy and too much for me, and I don't have time in my life for it. Because I help writers who are generally pretty short on time, because often they're almost always working full time, either running their own business, working freelance, or working full time.
Yeah.
Lots of them also have families. Lots of them, like me, have disabled family members that they care for. And we're all just really busy, and writing requires space and time and as much of it as you can get. And I didn't ever want anyone to be really distracted by a membership. I think sometimes it's easy to get really busy with learning and get busy with kind of communities and not actually sit down and do the work. And so I put it off for quite a long time because I didn't want it to be that. And then I realized, hang on, I'm building it. I can make it anything I want.
Yeah. The beautiful permission slip, isn't it? And I think it's so right because we get enticed to being part of communities, and I have definitely done this. And I'm like, yes, I want this element of it. But then sometimes there's an element of it that just does feel too much. And then I'm like, okay, but I get to choose. Like, I don't have to engage in that part of it. So sometimes I always join for a year because I'm like, I like the expansiveness of that feeling. Yeah. Like, I've got a year, so I don't need to rush to like go to calls and things like that. But then sometimes I will pause it as well and just be like, okay, like it's just a really busy season, and these emails that are coming through are reminding me that I've not engaged in it for however long.
Yes.
I do think there's definitely been a shift, and I've seen this with Substack memberships as well, where people have offered that permission slip more to say, I'll say it's a pick and mix adventure, which, I'm referencing like the sweets at the cinema, if Americans, it doesn't translate, but it's like you can choose what feels good and what feels aligned for where you are, because I think there is the community element that for me, it'll always feel good until it doesn't. And then you're like, I just can't take on anybody else's things or, sentences or anything. You just need that bit of time. Like you say, the solitude is a really deep part of my creative practice. So, but I love running a membership as well. I think I was always scared to do it because it felt like, well, until it's got some momentum, it hasn't got the community element. And so that was the piece where I was like, I can't sell it as having a community element when it's right, like in its infancy. That didn't make any sense to me. And the memberships I'd seen before I joined Substack were all quite high monthly investments as well. And I was like, how are people, like the maths didn't make sense to me. I was like, how are people paying that much a month and then staying so that you then felt properly paid for the resources that you delivered, but also so that you didn't constantly feel like you were trying to get new members all the time?
Yeah, it's really interesting actually. And this is what I had to kind of really think about when I decided I was going to do it, because from the memberships I've taken part in, often that value they give you is quite amazing in terms of like
Yeah.
having a kind of library of amazing resources that they've built up over many years. But it's also very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And also, often those communities with a huge amount of resource are also quite a big financial investment as well.
Yeah.
So you do need to then, in a way, use those resources in order to kind of justify the costs or get value from
Mm.
it. Um, and I always want creators to get paid for their work. So if they've put a huge amount into their backlog, their library of stuff, you
Mm.
don't want it for free. We shouldn't have it for free. But yeah, so it becomes that kind of really tricky thing with overwhelming members, but also wanting to provide value. So what I decided, because essentially, and I now love running this membership. Now, it's now my favorite
Okay.
thing, actually. It's
Yeah.
now my absolute favorite thing.
Love it.
After umming and ahhing about it and not being sure about it, it is now my absolute favorite thing. But one thing I had to think about was why I was setting it up and what purpose it was going to serve, really, for both me as the kind of creator and for the members themselves.
Mm.
And really, it was because the writing coaching I do one-to-one and in small group work, it has to be expensive. It can't not be. So when I do a one-to-one session with a writer, I'm doing editing work before that. So 7 days before I meet with a writer, they'll send me a draft of their proposal, which can be 10 to 20,000 words. And I do a full edit on that, like a full line by line edit on that, and give a full set of notes and then meet them for the call. And
Mhm.
so that one-to-one session is probably like 5 to 6 hours work. And so, as you can imagine, that means I have to charge quite a lot of money for that. I just have to. And so that makes it prohibitive for a lot of people, or really useful for very specific times when you
Mm.
need it. And that's, yeah, you can't do it all the time. And also, I'm very limited with how much I can take on, even though it's really enjoyable working one-to-one with a client. And then even the small group work, even though I'm doing, groups of 8 to 10 when I'm doing a proposal group, that is still a huge amount of time, because in that small group work, I am still giving feedback. So even though it's cheaper to do the small group work because we do the kind of learning together, I still
Mm.
give individual feedback as well. So again, it still has to be a certain price.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was really about, okay, how can I support people with things that I know I'm getting the same questions over and over and over
Yeah.
again?
Mm.
I know there are things I can support people with that are not requiring written feedback from me, that are
Mm.
perhaps in a different stage of their writing journey. They're having stumbling blocks. They don't necessarily need me to read something, but they do need someone to give them sort of just support and information, and to help them just really sit down and get that work done. And I know just from working one-to-one with people that it's sometimes very small things that can help totally shift things for a writer and get them moving and get them finishing their project. So it was really like, okay, how can I do that for people in a way that's really cost effective for them and really time effective for me? And for me, because I'm an unpaid carer and I am the only adult in this household, both paying the bills and doing all the work. I, for instance, rely a lot on audio. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and I absolutely love it. It's like my favorite way to kind of consume information, because I'm often folding laundry, supporting my son, as he's trying to fall asleep for like 2 hours in the evening, things like that. And so I have a lot of time to listen to audio.
Mm.
And so I decided to make audio the main part of the membership,
Okay.
so that people can slot it into their weekly routine however they want. So there's an audio session for me every week. And so some people I know tell me that they listen on their dog walk, that they listen on their commute, that they listen on their on a walk that they do. And it's like quite the same every week. So
Yeah.
that was one big thing. I was like, I want it to be really accessible, and audio can be really accessible. And I
Mm.
want it to be really routine in that way, that if nothing else, if you just listen to the audio coaching session every week, that it will give you value. It will be enough value just with
Yeah.
that one thing alone. And the idea then, obviously, with the membership, with that kind of thing, is that, I could have 50 people, I could have 500 people. And essentially, for me, it's the same amount of work. Obviously, the admin changes slightly, but for me, it's the same amount of work. So it just meant, I can sustainably deliver that.
Mm,
With it, whatever else is going on in my life, I know I can sustainably deliver that. And
yeah.
obviously, there are other things in the membership as well, but that's the weekly thing that
The
happens.
regular. Mm.
And then the other thing I wanted to do was to bring in another guest expert every month to run a workshop. And that has been so amazing because I can't tell you, I mean, you have people come and do things for you as well. So you know exactly what
Yeah.
paying another writer money is like the best feeling in the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because writers often have so many streams of income, and so many writers teach and are really experienced at delivering workshops in sometimes really wonderful niche areas or sometimes slightly broad areas. And people have, like, amazing writers have these kind of, the ability to do that, to replicate some of these things, to tweak it ever so slightly for a new audience. And how amazing about it, give them a bit of a platform as well. So that has been a really enjoyable part of it.
Yeah, it's really nice. I really love guesting in other people's memberships, and I know I'm coming into yours as well, which I'm really looking forward to. I feel like there's a beautiful intimacy as well in coming into other people's membership spaces that I really enjoy, which is very different to, say, like a summit energy. If I record something for a summit and you don't really ever know if it's landing, how many people have listened, what's happened. Like, there's a couple of metrics that you sometimes can get a sense of, but you feel like you're more in the room, don't you, with people that are already connected and stuff. So I really like doing it. It's been really interesting for me over the last couple of years because, similar to you, I've had energy challenges, both my own health stuff, my husband's health stuff, my daughter being at home. She's now in full-time school, but there's been all of these decisions that I've had to make around my own energy and, like, what is important. And I thought it was really interesting during some of that time, especially because Substack took off for me and it was really busy, where people would ask you to come in and deliver a class or multiple classes. Sometimes someone asked me to do 3 classes totally for free. And I'm just like, gosh, it's wild, isn't it? Because in their minds, that's a way that I might get clients. But in my mind, I just have a business that works. So I don't need, I
Yes.
don't need to do it. Like, it's
Yeah.
nice to do it, but it's like, no, I don't need to give this energy for free, like big energy as well, if you're tired and stuff and
Yeah.
sleepless nights and stuff. So it's been really interesting because it can feel a bit like the Wild West. And a couple of times members have said, "What happens with podcasts, Claire? Do you have to pay people? Because that must cost a lot of money." And I'm like, "Oh no, like, podcasting is just, for the most part, people will just podcast, people will just go live." And they're like, "Oh, I thought there was some sort of, like, economy going on behind the scenes when people were going live with each other on Substack lives or podcasts." So I think it can feel a bit confusing how to do it.
Yeah.
So I think
Well, I have really clear boundaries about
Mm,
what I ask for, sort of ask or offer for free, and what
yeah,
I ask or offer for paid. And
yeah,
so these, in case this is interesting to anyone
I think
listening,
it is. I get asked it a
so
lot.
I
Yeah,
do have a podcast. I have a writing podcast called Not Too Busy to Write. And I get authors to come on, mostly authors. Occasionally, I do also get literary agents, or, I've had
Mm,
the Society of Authors come on, things like that. But I mostly get authors who are in the process of promoting a new book. And the
right.
reason I do that is because I know they're in promotion mode.
Yeah,
And what they're doing is they're putting themselves out there
yeah.
because they're trying to sell a new book that's come out. And so it's reciprocal. They get something really big from it, and I get to talk to someone really interesting. So I tend to focus on authors that are in that mode. So they're in that
Mhm.
period where they're doing a lot of PR. The other thing I do is those interviews, zero prep. There is absolutely zero prep. So they literally just turn up. I If they want to have some questions in advance, I'm very happy to. Occasionally, some authors, particularly neurodivergent authors, might want to know what some of the questions are, which is totally
Mm,
fine. I'm always happy to do that. But otherwise, it's just turn up. We're having a conversation. I'm here to lead the conversation. You don't even have to think. Let's just chat. And
yeah.
so it's not work for them. But obviously, when I'm asking someone to come and deliver a workshop, that actually can be a huge amount of work for somebody. So
Yeah.
when I approach a writer to ask if they'd like to deliver a workshop, I always say, first of all, what the fee I can pay is, which is not huge, but it's definitely a fee.
Yes.
So I'm upfront about how much, first of all, but also I always say, look, I'm really happy for you to repurpose a workshop you've delivered somewhere else. Just,
Mm,
you might need to tweak it slightly for this particular audience,
mm,
but I'm approaching people who are experienced at teaching. So they
yeah.
might be authors and writers, but they're usually experienced teachers. And so for them, tweaking a workshop that they've already delivered is really helping to reduce their workload in advance as well,
Yeah.
which can help, although they might want to do something new. And actually, I've had a couple of people that say, well, I want to try something new. And they
Yes.
use it as kind of
Oh.
excuse. That's great. But I try and give them permission to kind of not reinvent the wheel
Mm,
because I know the fee I'm paying them isn't enormous. It's, it's definitely something, but it's not,
yeah.
it's not like, a full amazing day rate, which, in terms of putting together a workshop and
Mm,
delivering it, it can be quite a bit of work. And I do
mm,
recognize that it's quite a lot of work. So that's where my boundaries are in terms of free. Basically, there has to be something really strong in it for everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's so helpful, especially for people thinking about weaving these different elements into their business model and thinking through what the people who listen to their work or want to be more intimate in a membership space and stuff, what they want. Oftentimes they don't quite know what that is until they get up and running, do they? But
Yes.
you obviously know your writers really, really well. And that's been really beautiful to extend something into this space, like a membership space, and then see what happens. I always said about Sparkle on Substack, I'm not really sure how long people will want to stay. Like, I won't know that until the end of the first year. And
Mm.
then what happens after that? Because then obviously it rolls, right? So, like, the people that started at the very beginning, some of them are still with me, which is so beautiful. But others, after 3 years, were like, do you know what? I think it's time. And I'm like, great, like, graduate Sparkle. That's
Fine. Yeah.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
then other people obviously weave in and out, like, come for a month or two, take what they need, like do a bit of networking, get out again. Like, all of it's fine, but to
Yeah.
sustain you feeling good about it, I think you definitely do need those boundaries around understanding the model and understanding how it works with different people, don't you?
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And I definitely, um, it's funny because the membership as I'm running it at the moment, I get an email to say somebody has unsubscribed.
Okay.
And then a second one when it actually gets cancelled, when the date,
Yeah.
that particular month of theirs runs out.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had to learn very quickly, and it's fine because I feel like I'm a grown up now. I'm like in my late 40s, I can cope with it. But like, you have to unhook yourself from that because I join and quit memberships, not all the time, but regularly.
Yeah.
And the reasons I'm usually leaving are because it's not suiting me for whatever reason right this moment. And it might be that it's fulfilled its need, or it has, or I've just run out of time and I'm actually not able to access
Capacity.
it.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Or otherwise, the what that person is doing is really good, but I've realized the way they're doing it is not suited to the way I learn. That's
Mhm.
something. And those are all really good reasons to quit a membership. Like, they're really good reasons. And
Mhm.
so I would never begrudge people coming and trying my membership for a month or two and just being like, you know what? It's just not really my thing. It's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for it because in some ways I'm just like, I want a community of people to be there because they're getting something out of it.
Mm.
Yeah. And yeah, so the best way to do that is to just make sure people can kind of come and go as they please. And at the moment, I've got a month by month option and a 6 monthly option.
Okay.
And then I am actually about to move platforms. And when I do, I think I will start offering a 12-month one as well.
Yeah.
So
See how
1 month, 6 months,
that
12
one.
months. Just depending on how people like to manage their money. And
Yeah.
obviously, the longer option you buy will be, slightly cheaper. So
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really helpful to think about that and give people the option. I know with Diamond membership, so I use the founding member tier on Substack to host something called Diamond membership. But because it was high access to me, I had to close it off when it got to a certain number of
yeah,
people. So then although it was efficient to use that tier because it's there anyway and I could design it all up the way that I wanted to and stuff, it definitely hit that point where it was like, was this the most efficient space to hold these people? Because actually I've got a website that can do all of that as well.
Yes. Yeah.
There's always that piece, isn't there, of like, how is the user experience going to be? How is it going to feel? What happens at the end of the term? What happens if they ask for a payment plan anyway and you can't do it because founding member tier you have to pay up front? So there's all of these
Yeah.
considerations with it, and some platforms just manage it all, I think, really, really well. Like I really love, so Podia is the one that I use and I've used it since 2020. So I use that for my webinars and courses and stuff. And then it has the community element on there. And then I really like a membership that I'm in called that sits on School. So KOOL. Have you been on there?
I haven't been on that
Oh,
one.
it's
Is
really, really
that
nice.
more community or more courses? Because I
So
find sometimes they lean one way or the other.
Community, but it's a bit like, do you know when Facebook groups worked? It's a bit like that. So like it feels really lovely, but you can get to your resources easily, but you can post, you can meet people, you can DM them if like, there's a connect or whatever. It just feels like you're instantly part of something. So, obviously we're not on memberships every day, are we? But when I go on that page, I'm like, oh, here you all are. Obviously they're not. They're doing whatever, making a cup of tea or whatever. But I'm like, oh, here you all are. And I'm instantly plugged into the
Yeah.
energy. Whereas I think with others, I've been a bit like, oh, where do I go now? Because
I
I've
know.
missed all of this and I don't know where this is and I don't know what this reference is. And it's the navigation,
Yeah.
which I think definitely because I've been at those really stretched points in the last few years, I've really recognized the importance of the navigation piece for people and helping people.
So
Right.
important. It's so important. And
Really?
in fact, so I started the membership I had already a Squarespace website, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
used. So I decided after much research a year ago to build the membership initially in my Squarespace website with
Nice.
adding the membership element on.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very good in some ways. The reason I chose it initially was because it is so simple and basic. And I knew that I didn't really want a membership that everyone was spending time necessarily in the membership
Right.
because we do co-writing sessions where we're on Zoom together writing. The workshops that we run monthly are on Zoom. And then the audios come actually directly into your podcast feed. But I just wanted a home for everything. So if anyone wants to listen back to something, go back into the past, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, lots of people can't come live to workshops, so they want to rewatch them later. So everything needed a home, but I didn't necessarily want a busy space. And so actually, Squarespace memberships worked really well for that. But sort of as the year has gone by and I've checked in a number of times with the members and it's grown to over 100 members now. And a lot of people do want a bit more of a community space that they can be together. So I am going to be moving the membership. I'm still slightly a bit uncertain which one I'm going to. I've narrowed it down to a couple, but I'm pretty sure I know where I'm going to go. But the most important thing about moving is going to be continuing to keep an extremely streamlined, very simple membership. I'm part of a couple of memberships that I really love, but I have to. It's tricky. They can be very busy. Just even looking at all the different spaces you can go into, all the different areas that you can post. It just can be very overwhelming. And that's like the absolute last thing I want because it's really kind of goes against everything the membership is about. So I will be going to a new platform that has a space that members can really connect because actually that's one thing that I know a lot of members really want, which is to find critique partners, to potentially find other writers to put together their own writers group, that kind of thing. And I also do want to have an accountability thread every week. And this was one of the reasons why it was a little bit of a bummer that Substack I knew wasn't going to work for what I wanted to do, because I thought actually having a private thread each week, where people just, I would start it off and everyone else could comment about what are we working on this week? Because I find actually simple things like accountability, because we do it in our co-writing sessions. When we all arrive in the co-writing session, our audio is all off, but I have everybody put in the chat what it is that they're actually going to be writing in that session. And I find that even just declaring that is such a weird, helpful accountability tool.
Yeah.
So that is one thing I'm going to be introducing once we've moved to a new platform, is a thread every week, which I will kick off every Monday of what are you going to be working on this week? What are you hoping to achieve? What is your plan thing with your writing? So there was a few elements that have been missing so far, but I'm really glad I started simpler, and I'm only adding as we go the things that I know are going to add value, but not overwhelm the members. And a big part of moving to a new platform is going to be really concisely helping everyone on board in a way that's actually going to be good for them, and like navigating through how to make sure they turn off all the notifications, all that kind of stuff, because I don't want anyone to be overwhelmed because other members are having a chat, for instance. So yes, I will be helping to guide everybody through how to shut all that stuff down. But like already what I have, for instance, is in the weekly email that I send out, which I send out exactly the same time as the audio goes to the podcast feed, the private podcast feed, and goes onto the website. So depending on how people like to access it, the email goes out. It's all synced. Every week on there, I do reminders of when our co-writing sessions are, but also I have a form that you can just add your name to if you don't want to receive the email reminders about the co-writing sessions. Because if you know, for instance, that you don't enjoy co-writing sessions, or if the times never work for you, your life, you don't have to get those couple of emails every week.
You can just have
that cut off. So that to me is sort of what's really important about the membership, is keeping it almost keeping it as quiet as possible, but then there are plenty of options of things that you can get a lot from. But it's not, I don't want to create extra noise, basically.
Yeah, I love that. And then to bring it back to Substack, because you do write on Substack, you're also really prolific on Instagram. You're so generous with the content that you share and the education that you share there. I wonder how that piece of it all fits together. Like, do you feel like there's a visibility piece, and that's why you're on both platforms, and it's more you and your books and your work, and it advertises the fold, or is it a different way that you see it?
It's constantly evolving. And in fact, our poor Substack has been neglected the past.
Oh, has it? Oh, I hear this a lot.
I'm so sorry, Substack. And I'm in fact post it again this week, because this was I've been meaning to do it since sort of, I guess, like, late last year. I think I needed to have a bit of a break. One of the things was with the fold is that I'm pouring a lot of my best creative energy outside of my own creative writing, by the way. My best creative energy for my business is going into the fold, my membership, 100%. But that meant for a while, as I was figuring that out, I did sort of have to neglect Substack. As a way. So what I have done now, which I have been meaning to do for months, is I've turned off my paid subscribers actually completely on Substack.
Oh, have you,
Penny? I've decided to, and I am going back to posting again in Substack. But I'm going to keep it very much a place of where I talk about, making time for creativity and writing amongst a really busy life, and just have that really particular remit happening there, because I do think there are such a big community of writers on Substack that I want to be connected to. And I do think it's a really interesting kind of platform to kind of stay in and stay connected to. And by the way, even though I haven't been present on the app or on my own Substack much, I still read my favorite Substacks. I just read them in my emails, which is, of course, what is so great about Substack. So it's like, still, a few of my favorites, like yours I read, and Jodie Wilson's I read.
Oh, Jodie's great.
I love Jodie.
Look,
you've got
literally, I have to flash it, because look at that.
It's so good.
Literally on my desk. So
it's good.
I received more in like snippets this year, so trying to just have a book and be like, right, let's just read anyway.
Exactly. So Substack, I'm going to kind of get back into in 2026.
Mhm.
But again, it's going to be a light touch. I'm not going to be writing weekly, and I'm not going to have any paid subs, and I'm not really going to spend much time on the app particularly. But I will continue to read the Substacks that come into my email, and I will continue to write on a semi-regular basis there. But Instagram this past year, I have loved it. I know a lot of people hate Instagram, and they're talking
It
about
was
how
like a big
awful the
revolt,
algorithm is.
wasn't there? Like everyone was like deleting accounts and ditching it, and I was like,
I
I love
am
it. I think it's
really
really
enjoying
good.
it.
And
Yeah.
where would I get the funny dogs? There'd be no funny dogs for me if I didn't have an Instagram account. Love the funny dogs.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm.
it's nice. It's nice for connecting. Like we connected on Instagram, I think, before anything else. Like
Yeah, we probably did.
yeah, you can make really nice connects, can't you, with people? And I love the voice note element of it as well. I loved that when I was on maternity leave to be able to like connect in with people this way. I think there's so many ways with it. One of the things that I felt with writers who were amazing on Instagram is like, oh, please put that in Substack, because if you copy and paste it into a post, it's going to be like way long enough already. Those captions are actually quite long. Like they're nearly
Yes.
like a fully formed piece, aren't they? And now that we're taught more about how carousels work, a carousel's a lot of work. So it's like you may as well have it in a long form platform that can be viewed again and again and again. So
Well,
that's the bit, isn't it? But it needs to be the right, it needs to feel right and feel like the right energy.
it does. And I think I do ever so slightly different things on the different platforms. But
Yeah.
interestingly, I am loving the storytelling. I have always enjoyed storytelling on Instagram.
Mhm.
To me, that's like the whole beauty of the platform is combining visuals with storytelling.
Right.
But I think what I'm really loving at the moment is how low key you can be visually, which I'm
Yeah.
really, really enjoying.
Throw it up there.
Yeah, exactly. Just you can tell a really good story and give quite a lot of value, but in a very kind of low key way. So you don't have to be
Mhm.
polished, which I'm very much enjoying. But it's for me, it's still a really good discovery platform. So people can go from my Instagram to my writers membership to my workshops to my one-to-one writing coaching to my
Yeah.
Substack to my podcast. Whereas I'm finding, actually, interestingly, I was finding with Substack, and this kind of starts to play into why I chose not to have the membership on Substack. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the readers on Substack are there for one purpose and one purpose only, which is to read a long form article, and that is it. And so what I was finding when I was pouring more of my energy into Substack, by the way, I also have an email list, which is actually like my sales email.
Yeah.
Right. So I do, also have
As
that.
and as business owners, I'm always really clear on this. My email list outside of Substack is my CRM, my customer relationship manager, because how would I know who had bought what thing, who I
Well,
worked with
exactly.
one? You can't remember all
Exactly.
that stuff. Like it's like my Bible. So
Exactly. Yeah. So I know on my sales emails, I call them in my mind, it's my sales emails.
same. Yeah.
That I know who's come to what workshop.
Yeah.
If anyone has ever, like, which way they came to me, all those sorts of things.
Yeah. The
That's
flow
really
through.
useful information.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
so I was really noticing when I started writing less on my sales emails and more on my Substack, over 2023, 2024, was that people just wanted to read something interesting and something thoughtful. They didn't want to then go off and, have a look at my workshop or go off even necessarily and listen to the podcast. So I was finding, actually, it's great for sharing writing and for
Yeah.
connecting with other writers and for sharing
Mhm.
your actual words, but actually
Mhm.
it wasn't. I was finding it was not really great for, basically, my business
No,
particularly,
there's
actually.
I think this is the thing, isn't it? And once you have an established presence on Substack, and I think we're seeing this more and more, you can just be like, okay, so I'm going to publish once a season, 4 times a year, or every other month, 6 times a year. Like you can literally do what you want. I think people thought, oh, you've got to publish weekly. But I was like, no, guys, if you're going to publish weekly, that's because you want to grow this account ferociously, and then you want to convert this into a really healthy income stream. Publishing weekly is actually too much content for one person on one person. Like it's
Yes.
too much.
Yeah. But also
So
as a reader, I really enjoy a number of Substacks.
yeah.
I don't even think of them as Substacks anymore because I'm only reading in my email. So I just think about them as
Yes.
newsletters or emails.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't want to hear from people as often because I can't
No.
actually read all of the great
Yeah.
Substacks, right? Like I just don't have enough time to read
We
them.
can't. And I think
Yeah.
that this is the thing with the paywall as well. All of the coaching and mentoring I've done, and people are like, oh, I thought it was such a cliffhanger in front of the paywall. And I'm like, yeah, but it's people's capacity. Like they've just had enough. It doesn't matter how good it is. There's too many people now, and when we get subscribed to too many people, which we all are generous souls and we want to be, and all, it's like there's gonna hit a limit where we just can't, and we've got
Yeah.
to make some
Yeah.
choices. So either we see it come in and we don't read it, or we just don't read for a month. Whichever way it happens, I just think there is this sort of curation of our own capacity that has had to go on, both
Yeah.
as writers, creatives, space holders, but also as consumers, as readers. And like I said, I love my funny dogs on Instagram. Nobody's going to take those away from me. I want to see those every day.
I get more cats than dogs, but
You're
yeah,
the cat.
totally
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
But
Love
yeah,
me a whippet in a jumper. I'm delighted.
it's so interesting, isn't it? Because this is all part of the reason why I don't have a membership on Substack, because I feel like what I was feeling like after being on Substack for about, I don't know, maybe 2 years or something.
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, people want a very specific thing here, and that's fine. I'll do a very specific thing here. But I was feeling like what I wasn't going to get was that community, that very light touch community thing where people weren't getting overwhelmed. I didn't want people to have to go on the Substack app, because I know when I go on mine, there's just so much going on there, because obviously I am subscribed to incredible people, who have really thoughtful, interesting things to say. And so anytime I go on the Substack app, I'm like, oh, all the things. So I didn't want that, basically.
And there is that piece, isn't there, about our social media and parasocial relationships where I notice in myself, and like I'm always really honest about this stuff, but when someone is prolific, I'm like, but then people think that about me as well. So it's like really difficult, because there's this piece where if you don't position yourself and talk about what your work and what you do and all the things and your accolades and stuff, then people won't know about that stuff. But there's also the piece that as a social media feed of incredible writers and incredible, award-winning writers and best-selling writers and all the things, you're like, oh, I just shrinked a little bit there, and that's what I'm trying to say to people. Like, until you curate that feed so it lifts you up and you feel super safe in your nervous system, you're always just going to feel slightly assaulted and slightly like, well, if I'd have started 10 years ago, or, maybe if I'd gone to private school, or all these, the self-limiting beliefs that crop up. And I don't think that is conducive to creativity, even if you've done all the personal development work and therapy in the world. I think it is really difficult to quiet all of that. And we've had a technological revolution over the last few years. Our brains just cannot process that up.
Yeah, we
It's
can't.
like if someone, was at the front of the class every day where the teacher was like, look at Jimmy, look how well he's done, look at this beautiful, you'd just be like, oh. And then also there's that piece where it's like collapse may as well not bother. Whereas actually the world is abundant and you can do in your creative life anything that you want to do. So you have to sort of repattern and reprogram the spaces that you plug in to sort of reinforce that belief, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is so now I put the Substack app back on my phone to have this conversation, but it's going to come off again after our conversation. So now I go only on the desktop if I'm going to go on it. Because otherwise I'm in it too much. And with Instagram, even though I do really love it, and actually Instagram has been really wonderful connecting with other writers. And I've got very, very good friends. In fact, my writers group, who we have been together as a writers group now for 6 years, and we all met in a sort of funny, networky way from Instagram originally.
Yeah.
But I take Instagram now off my phone Friday night, and I don't put it back until Monday morning. Again, just because I need to have a break from noise.
Yeah.
Because it's just too easy for my thumb to go there.
I do the same, and I've really noticed, and I think it's topical, how we manage all this stuff. The amount of people that have told me that they've ordered one of those brick things, that like blocks your phone. But for me, the deletion is really easy. It's like delete on a Thursday, put it back on a Sunday. I know that I will find some other, like, I'm like a little dopamine monkey. I'm like, well, I'll just go on Pinterest and look at gardens. Like, I'll find something on my phone. Like, I just will. But my intention is to not do that every
Yeah.
weekend, So, and I think a lot of it is in the care and responsibilities as well, because my daughter takes a long time to go to sleep. She's only 5 years old, but, we're talking like 9:30, 10 o'clock every night.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's had loads of activity. Like, she is fierce. She knows what she's here for, and me and our dad. Oh, so sometimes I just need a little bit of Pinterest, a little bit of a scroll there. So
I
I
know, but
just
I have to
think it is
say,
interesting as a
audiobooks.
creator. Audiobooks,
Audiobooks are
yeah.
the answer
Mhm.
to
Little
children who take
sneaky
forever
ear
to fall
podding.
asleep. A
I could
little
just be
tiny
like,
little ear in. It
so
totally
good.
keeps me sane. By the way, so for anyone who's watching and who doesn't know me, I have a 16-year-old who has a learning disability and has very high needs. And so 16 years I've been doing the very long bedtimes. So I can tell you the only thing in 16 years that has kept me sane has been audiobooks.
Beautiful. Oh,
But yeah, so all of this stuff, even though, yes, Substack, I love loads of it, and Instagram, love loads of it. It can be noise. And as creatives, and particularly both of us are, we are facilitating for other creatives. We have to help support other people, in ways that help cut out some of that noise. And so that's, to me, what was the absolute key thing about setting up the Fold was it is about helping you sit down and write. It is about nothing else than that. And if I am distracting you from writing, I am not doing my job properly.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have been cautious with switching to a new membership site
Yeah.
that's a bit more kind of bells and whistles, because I have to be so careful not to overdo it. But I think now I'm feeling comfortable enough with knowing the community that I've got and I've set up, knowing what their needs are, and hopefully how to keep it from getting too noisy. But interestingly, one of the other things as well is I always want to keep it low cost. Like, I'm never going to put up the price for it. I
How
don't
much,
want.
how much is it, Penny?
It's £20 a month. Or £100 for 6 months. And once I add the 12, it's going to be 160 for 12 months, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's how it's going to be when I add 12 months to it. But I don't ever want that price to go up, because that, to me, is a price that is like, you feel it. Most people, of course, there are some people who would never feel £20 a month, but for most of us, we notice £20 a bill.
Yeah.
Okay, that's £20.
Yeah.
But it's also, so it's not nothing. It's definitely something. It's an investment. And I want it to be an investment for people, because I don't want people to sign up and forget about it. The whole point is that I am here to help you get your work done and get your writing done. And so I don't want people to totally forget about it. I feel like £20 a month is for most people, especially for writers, most writers are not wealthy, is enough to feel it. But at the same time, I don't want it to be totally prohibitive. It is £20 a month is definitely prohibitive for some people. And I do actually have some scholarship places.
Yeah.
But so I want to keep that price. For me, what I would like to do is grow it further so I can earn a bigger portion of my income through the membership, so I can dedicate a bit more time to it. But I love that I'm going to be able to do that without it actually affecting the other members, if you know what I mean. Unlike one-to-ones, there is just, a cap. There's nothing we can do about it. And, sometimes people have to wait 6 or 8 weeks for a one-to-one session with me because I just don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
And that's where the membership is different. Yeah. So it's been interesting trying to work out what that price point is that's enough that it feels like, oh yeah, this is a little bit of a commitment, but it's also not completely outrageous either. And because of that as well, I also don't want to put too many things in the membership, because I don't want people to think, well, I'm only listening to the audios and doing the workshops, and there's now all these other things in there that I'm not using.
Never
So it's no longer good value for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to.
It's tempting to value stack, and I see this all the time where people are like, I've put all of this stuff and I'm going to put this and I'm going to put this, and I'm like,
yeah.
And this is where Russell and I are very different, because he's put everything, absolutely everything that he's ever made, courses, books, all of that, and people can get all of that, and that's how he's
Yes.
wanted to do it. But for me and my people, just the way that their brains work, it's like there's no way I'll ever get to that stuff, or I'm missing out, or it just doesn't
Yeah.
feel good. They want to feel accomplished. They want to feel they can get to the thing they want to get to, that they can have the accountability, that they can feel celebrated, that they can meet buddies and people to go live with if that's what they want to do. So
Yeah.
I think knowing what your people want and
Yeah.
knowing what you want in terms of that energy is perfect.
Yeah. And it's even just things like knowing what it is that you offer so
Yeah.
that people can just be like, oh, that's for me or that's not for me. And it's
Mm.
totally fine because actually there's loads of things out there that are better suited to some writers.
Yeah.
There's loads. I mean, in fact, one membership I love, the London Writer Salon. I will recommend them to loads of people. I adore them. They're great. They offer something different to what I offer. And some people are definitely better off going with them. I think that's totally fine. I mean, where, for instance, I'm different to them is that, I have quite different life experience to the people who are writing.
Yeah.
And so I come at writing from a different angle. I know a lot of parents and carers and a lot of women feel really comfortable in my writer's membership because in my audios, I will literally be like, we didn't sleep last night, guys.
Yeah.
This is
Just
how I
the real
function when I
honesty, how
literally
you
have
do
not slept
it.
all night. Yeah. And so I know that quite a lot of writers like being in a membership where the challenges that I'm going through relate, in similar ways to ones they're going through and how I navigate those in a very practical, but also a kind of psychological way how I keep writing through those things. But also, something like London Writers Salon have, I think, like 4 co-writing sessions every single day because they have a team of people who do them at different times of day around the world. So if you're somebody who travels quite a lot or works funny hours and co-writing is the most important thing for you, then you're definitely better off going with the London Writers Salon
Yeah.
because they have that on offer.
Yeah.
That is not something I will ever offer. It's not what I'm here for, essentially.
Yeah.
We do have a few a week, but yeah, it's different.
And it's beautiful, isn't it, to sort of stick with your boundaries around that. I know when I first launched Sparkle, I couldn't do any calls later than, I don't know, I think it was about 2 o'clock or something. And I said to Dave, in year 2, I would really like to offer later calls because I know my American audience tell me it would be so lovely to come to some of these, but I still don't do anything later than 3 o'clock because of my energy and because then I'm transitioning into dinner time and a massive shift with my daughter. So even though Dave's at home and like we juggle that, he has chronic health conditions and it's not worth me pushing my energy into a big long day to deliver it just because it doesn't quite suit an American time zone. Like I just can't do it. So I think you're right to sort of bring it back to yourself and then know that it'll suit the people it suits. And if people really want it, they might catch the replays or they might do it in another way. There are so many beautiful spaces. And in a similar way, I used to be in Susie Walker's Heart Leap writing community.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
Times
love
lovely,
Susie.
and I met lots of lovely people, and I know her in real life. She's gorgeous, So, and then all of a sudden, it just stopped working. Like that time of day just stopped working. But I always tell people about it. So, I'm going into 12 Chapters Club now, actually, and I'm going to mention about the Fold in that as well because now I've got more context for what goes on in there and who it's for. I know some of my 12 Chapters members are going to love that, so I'll mention that as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a funny one, and I really do think for anyone watching who's thinking about setting up a membership, always, always, always lean into your strengths.
Yeah.
I know my strengths as a writing coach. I know what they are, and they are different to other people's. And that's fine. That's what we should absolutely be doing. We should be leaning into where our strengths are. My strengths are very much around, I have always worked as a creative freelancer, always, since I finished university. I used to be a photographer for many, many years and had to stop because of my son's needs. And I'd already written my first book at that point. So I ended up retraining, doing a master's degree and retraining as a book coach. But I have always done that juggle. I was a single parent for 10 years. I have, 2 kids with wildly different needs from each other. I've had very young kids now. I've got a massive teenager who's bigger than me, who has needs that are much more similar to a toddler's, if you know what I mean. I have this set of experiences, which means I am well suited to certain kinds of people in terms of the way I communicate and my background and how I approach my work. And I'm not for everyone, and that's totally fine. I mean, there are lots of really wonderful people out there who are in their 30s and are talking to audiences that don't have kids and are juggling different kinds of challenges and things.
Yeah.
And if that's you, then those people are amazing for that. And I think you just have to be quite sort of, I guess, just own what it is that you know you can bring and the way you communicate. You know, it's funny, don't you really think that, like, I will sometimes read, particularly, say, a life writer or someone on Substack or a book or something. And what they're saying, it's not that I've never heard what they're saying before, but the way they say it, the way they communicate it, suddenly everything clicks into place. And it just is like, it just really, you really understand it on a different level, and it really kind of helps you with whatever challenge. You know, I would say, so Jodie Wilson is one of those people who we've already mentioned, whose book has just come out. It's brilliant. You know, some of the stuff in Jodie's book, it's not like I've never heard these things ever discussed ever before, but the way Jodie approaches that work is just, it just really speaks to me. And I think we have to always lean into that, and lean into what your strengths are. And that includes, like, as you were saying, that includes your boundaries as well.
Yeah, beautiful. It's been really strange because on this live, it says there's only one person watching, but when I opened the desktop version, it says 76 people and there's comments there, but only from when I turned it on. So I don't know if you see the same thing, Penny,
I
but there
can
must
see
be some
76 people. Hello, 76 people, but I
must
can't.
be just me then.
I'm on my phone, so I can't see the comments.
So mine just says one person watching. So I'm glad that you've seen that there's been people here. But obviously I haven't made time for questions there and I do have to pop off. But where can people follow you on Instagram? What is your Instagram handle, Penny, if people want to
Penny Wincer. The thing that's really lucky about my name is that no one else in the world has it. And so I'm
there we go.
Penny Wincer on everything, on Substack, on Instagram. You can find me. Basically, you can Google me and, like, you can find everything. But yeah, you can come find me on Instagram. Obviously Substack. I think all the information is on my Substack. If you guys are already on Substack,
yes, they land there. They can
all
just
there.
Gorgeous. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm sorry if I have missed any comments because I haven't seen any and I only have one person viewing live and then the desktop version of things that's gone on. But it's been beautiful to chat, Penny. I'm so looking forward to guesting for your membership.
I know. I'm so excited. I know the members are so excited because obviously quite a lot of the members do already have Substack. And many others want to start one or have tentatively started one and really want to grow one. So no, it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward.
Perfect. Oh, good stuff. Well, thanks for your generosity and I'll chat to you again really soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.